With all the currents of life, in manifesting your dreams and living your purpose, there's a way to stay tuned into Source first thing in the morning, first thing when you wake up. And I was reminded of this today, coming outside to meditate, of how important that space of cultivating your connection to Source is. Of giving the space and time to myself to truly get tapped in, to truly get into the stream of consciousness and set my intentions for the day, to clear and get into a state of receptivity so that the divine inspirations can flow in. And this allows us to set the pace, to set the momentum, so that as we do step into the day, we're more in a balanced vibration. Meditation brings us back to wholeness. And that time with ourselves is so important, to find that sense of wholeness, to sit in stillness, to reflect, to connect, to unravel, and to relax into that state of receptivity. And that state of receptivity is a feeling of life force flowing through. It's a feeling of the intuition coming online, and guidance is specific to the questions you've been having will come to you in that space. But you've got to prioritize you. It's one of the best ways to put yourself first. Because when you connect to Source, first thing, you're tapping into the wellspring. You're tapping into the wellspring that will fill your cup. And when your cup overfloweth, you have so much more vitality to share, and in what you create and in what you share, it's going to be coming from that place rather than an empty cup where you've just got a few drops left. And I felt that this way of recharging, reconnecting to ourself is so important, because when we start putting ourselves second with connecting to Source, we're kind of at a whim to react to the conditions of life and not necessarily showing up as the best version of ourselves for others. And I appreciate the clarity, the serenity, and the boost in self-confidence that I experience when I do prioritize that, when I do meditate, when I do connect with nature, when I do start my day in the vibration that I want to be in. And I feel that that is an act of self-love, is, giving yourself the space to be you and to unfold you. And then there's this tuning that happens inside of that, where I'm tuning into the wholeness of who I am. And that way, the inspiration, the intuition, and the guidance is coming from your true self. It's not coming from the conditioning or the need to prove your worth in the world of conditions. It's coming from the innocence of your heart's desire that inner childlike wisdom that knows that if there weren't all these limiting factors telling you how you had to be, that you could do anything, what would you want to do? And in that space of receptivity, in that space of prioritizing your devotion and your connection to Source, you connect into that. You give yourself the permission to live it, to follow those impulses, regardless of the world says. And you realize that you are worth it and that you are a child of the divine. And that you would not be gifted these desires and inspirations if you did not have the means to fulfill them with the cooperation of the universe. And tuning in first thing is how we cooperate ourselves with the universe. So this is a reminder to myself and you, the importance of creating that space in our daily practices to really get tuned in. And as we get tuned in, the vision starts streaming in. As we get tuned in, we get inspired. As we get tuned in, we feel in love with ourselves, we feel in wholeness with ourselves. As we get tuned in, the dream becomes clearer. As we get tuned in, the guidance comes through. And then to follow that impulse into the day, to walk into the meditation of life and begin to embody that so it becomes this natural state. And in a way, it's part of, that training of the mind to begin to associate with that new self-concept. And then in that, it's like, whoa, now I'm showing up more in the wholeness of who I am. Now I'm more able to be present and be mindful and to respond rather than react. And I notice the days when I don't prioritize that, I was definitely more reactive. And the days when I do, there's a bit more of this space where you're witnessing what's going on, that you can remember that connection, and that when you can remember that, you realize that nothing is really worth leaving that connection when you're able to be aware of it. Because the greatest gift that you can give comes from that place. So be selfish enough to love yourself enough to connect to Source every day. Because from that overflowing cup, tapped into the river and the stream of Source, you have so much more to give. And where it's coming from is this vibration of authenticity. It's infusing what you create with this genius, and this infinite intelligence is at the winds of your back supporting you. So what could be better than that in service to others? I'll leave you with that. Peace.